Maybe after Ramesh finishes. No, we all come. After Ramesh finishes, maybe if everyone doesn't mind waiting for lunch, we can give you a few minutes.
So from princes we will move on to paupers. How we have been documenting games. So what the Ramses people have been doing for Karnataka, no doubt Demiraj Reddy has been doing for Andhra, the former Andhra Pradesh, now Andhra and Telangana. We decided we will do it for Maharashtra, and this was the genesis of Project Khelia. The word Khelia was given by Jnaneshwari because it is a very contagious disease. Once anybody gets into our ancient games crowd, they catch the disease and then they get into it. Somebody else touches them, they get the disease. So we decided when we started this project, we will call it Project Khelia. So I'll tell you what Khelia is next. Okay. Now one reason is why we did this is because it's not just about documenting games, but applying that in the larger context of society, not just modern society, but also the society in which these games were played in the past. Because we realize that there are many ways these games can be used to understand the ancient society that played them and what their motivations were and mindsets were, something that I was discussing with Amanji also. That as societies change, their games change. And as we start seeing different games, we know how the mindsets have changed. For example, Prince of Pauper, all of them like Chopper. Okay? So while we have fancy, the colors have changed a bit. I'm sorry. This is a lovely red silk chopper that was stitched by Jnaneshwari. And on the right side, you see a chopper etched into the floor of a cave in Ellora. Okay. So this was, for example, if you see, many Western museums have, whether they have bought or stolen or looted or whatever, excellent specimens of Indian choppers. Okay. With ivory pieces, with silk work, with gold work, all sorts of stuff. So clearly it was extremely popular among the upper classes, the royals, the aristocrats, maybe merchant princes, and these are the ones that have landed up in museums in the West. The good thing is the things that cannot land in their museums are the ones on our cave floors. And not only can they not take it away, but we can go to those places and play them. So these become our paupers, become the flag bearers of our own heritage, and you can go back to Ellora, sit there and play the game. And somebody is asking you, you just tell them we are reviving our country's intangible heritage. Okay. Another thing that we've been noticing. So the royal game of Kool. Now this was one of so Jnaneshwari and I run a newspaper column in a Marathi magazine called Lokaprabha. So it comes out every fortnight. And one of our first articles was this very fascinating royal game of Kool. But it's misleading to call it the royal game of Kool. It's called so because of the specimen on the right, which was found in some Queen Poo Arby's tomb, and then in characteristic British style, stolen and taken to the British Museum. On the bottom right, you see another terracotta board, which was found in Margiana, which is modern Central Asia. And on the bottom center is a version of this game found in Egypt with ivory pieces and knuckle bones as dice, which is now in the Metropolitan Museum, New York. So the Americans are not far behind the British. But the bit that most of this game was documented by a British curator called Irving Finkel. And but he says his favorite board is none of these fancy things. He says his favorite board is this one. This is a similar board to this, etched on the floor of the guard room at an excavation in wool. Although the British in their magnificence have chosen to appropriate this also. And the entire guard room has been taken from Iraq to Britain. Now, when we started our research, and we found that there were two publications that triggered this. One was a publication by the Asiatic Society of Bengal for Sedentary Games of India that came out in 1999, which was a collection of papers published by the Asiatic Society 100 years earlier. So many of these papers are from the 1890s and the early 1900s. And in 2011, another Calcutta-based institution, the Anthropological Survey of India, had run a live survey of how many of these games are now being played, and they came out with the Indian Board Games Survey, which they did in 2011. Okay. Now, what is happening is a lot of these surveys are being done for. It's good that they did it for living games, but they did it on a smallish budget, and they dropped the project once they had done 1 year's field work. So that's a tragedy because many of these living games are facing their greatest threats now with the increasing penetration of mobile phones. And I have only Mr. Mukesh Ambani to blame him and his cheap Jio data. And then there are other books, publications where art historians have collected late medieval games with very rich art historical perspective. Because they were collecting the games for their art rather than their game. So, no such systematic effort has been done for ancient games, barring the two people who are here in the audience with me. Okay? So, yeah, while we have also been noticing games etched on caves and temple floors, apart from the Damson's Trio in Karnataka, our doyens from Chennai and Devaraja Reddy in AP, this work is not being done in any other states. And Maharashtra is a state that has a very confused identity. It's a North Indian state according to the South Indians and a South Indian state according to the North. And so we said we have the highest GDP in the country as our state GDP. So if the South is doing something, we cannot be left behind. So we started this project India for Arts. But we did it in a different way. I myself am pretty lazy. Traveling all these miles to clock, go and document games is not my style of doing things. I'm pretty sedentary myself. So we said we will do, and this is the era of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. When you get the crowd to do your work. So we started this thing. So now we have come to a system where I am the central, like in Shiva Sayugyam, I am the central point. And I get calls now from everywhere. Sir. Yes, it's 3 in the afternoon. I'm trying to take a nap. What is it? Sir, there's a game board in this temple. Please send photo. I've even got calls at 3 a.m. What they were doing at 3 a.m. I don't know. And this is at Ambarnath temple. Hundreds of Mumbaikars have visited the Ambarnath temple and none of us has noticed this. And then Monish Shah, who is one of our associates, after he sees all this game-related activity, one day happens to go to Ambarnath. And Ambarnath is a beautiful temple, one of the most underappreciated temples in India. You have to look at its shikhara, amazing symbols. You have to look at its walls, amazing sculptures. But our team looks at the floor. And we found this. Okay. Now, why do we need to document this? Is because a number of games, and our Mr. Sojwal Sali has clocked the most number of. Where's Sojwal? Please rise. Everyone give him a hand, please. More than half of what we have achieved in our project has been done by him. He went to Nashik and he mapped every square inch of the caves. And among also some we recognized immediately because we actually asked him, because he lives in Nashik. And we had asked him to go look for the 9 men's forest that Kurusa was talking about. The one that is our collaborator Emmanuel Mayer had found in Nashik. So when he went to look for it, he didn't just go look for it. If you send a man to do a thing, he will do that one thing and come back. Right, but Sojwal is a man for all seasons. So he went and mapped every square inch. We say humans were hunter-gatherers, men hunt and women gather. He did the gathering. And then he came up with so many games. There was Pachisi, there was backgammon, there was this, there was that, and then there was this very curious cross. As Gyaneshwari has spoken yesterday, we were muttering and mumbling as to what this could be. And we need to exercise some caution because at some point it becomes that every shape you see is a game board. And then you have to step back and say some of them may not be game board. Look, if it looks like a lotus, it's probably a lotus, not a game board. But this was a cross. This is from a period where Christianity is not there, so it's clearly not a cross. So what was it? Then we discovered this book, which then now Gyaneshwari has it for her bedtime reading. So you will always see her with that book. So she was rifling through the pages when she comes across this game Udat Pagda. So now she has the credit of reviving a game forgotten in Maharashtra for at least 1,000 years. So none of the people in the cave seem to have an idea of what this was. But now we can say that between this cave diagram and what Gyaneshwari discovered in the book, we are in a position to revive Udat Pagda. Next. But another case. If this was a success story, this was a mystery. So our colleague Prashant Dharan found this board at Ellora. Okay? Now it looks like an incomplete Pachisi board. In that sense that we probably think that they got it wrong and they abandoned it and then they drew another board. Not far from it is a complete Pachisi board. So is it that? Or is it a different game altogether that we have now lost? Maybe it is another kind of game where you have two parallel starting points and then you race up. You start, one person starts here, one person starts here, you join here, you race up here, and then you race back. Could that be a game? Okay, so many mysteries are existing. Now, our little archaeological community, this is the most horrible word. Okay? If you say this to me today, I will not be able to sleep at night. Okay? This is our cultural practice that old and ruined temples, especially among us Hindus, as Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs, we pull down old and damaged structures and we will erect new ones. And because of the times we live in, we make them out of RCC concrete and we take great care to floor them with bathroom tiles. In Maharashtra, we are very fond of bathroom tiles. So, for example, go back. So, one of the things is depending on your budget. So, the Jains usually are pretty rich and they do their entire temple in marble. We Hindus are slightly maybe cheaper or less. So we do it in RCC and then we put it bathroom tiles. But what happens is that the game board goes under. They forget that there was a game that had raised. Most of them are ignorant that there is a game board on the table. And so it's marble temple and we've lost it. Then sometimes I've gone and wished that I could get one on Mestri and clarify all the tiles. The other thing is our Archaeological Survey of India, bless them, but they also have this terrible tendency that at many monuments they will put a proper nice cement flooring so that people can walk over them without trouble. Which means that the game board goes under. And at the Mahakali cave, so after Social documented the Mandapeshwar cave, it is an excellent background. We rushed to the Mahakali cave and ASI had floored it over. Beautiful cement. And at Kaneri also several of the caves have been nicely floored. Kaneri, well, what the ASI has done is better not said about. Okay. So we said Project Helia has to be taken up in great urgency. And now what happens is, it's not just about surveying board games, but also dating the board games in the paradigm that Dr. Dalal laid out today. To look at their context in terms of class, caste, and religion. So we know that not all games are played by all people. Some have. There have been literary references where people have said, play chess, that's an upper caste game. Do not play tiger and goat, that's a lower caste game. So there was this Pandit Nanjundaya in Vijayanagar who written this. When I meet my maker, I will seek him out and kick him. So another need to do is again corroborate literary sources, and we need to move towards musealization, because if we talk about games museum, it cannot be these dead pieces. It cannot be a pagade put under a glass frame or a tiger and goat put in a glass frame. Right now, the Royal Game of Go sits in a very beautiful glass box in the British Museum. No one can touch it. Okay? That doesn't do anything for the game. If you want to create musealization of game, you have to find a way of getting people to play that. And the boards etched on cave floors are real entities. You can go there and play them, as the Mysore people do. They take their pawns and they go and place them so that you can get a better photograph, right? But our aim is also to encourage the locals. What you guys have been doing, they also do. So we've learned a lot of tips from you. In fact, the whole conference is to get all these knowledgeable people together, learn all their tricks so that we can. So here is the first hall that we've got in Project Helia. We get all sorts of things now. We've discovered some really interesting surprises which I will walk through. But sometimes we get things like this, which I say is probably not a board game, probably some kind of symbol. But then the student says, "Sir, I photographed it, now it's a board game." So some interesting surprises. So one of our discoveries was by Sochwal Sali and Arun Narayanan, who discovered the backgammon in Mandapeshwar. Now, backgammon in India needs a little bit of research. The picture is emerging that this is a game that was possibly invented here, which then spread all over the world. And for whatever strange reason, by the 7th century AD, it was completely forgotten. And I think yesterday someone showed an example of backgammon from Karnataka. You right? And there is that sculpture of Shiva and Parvati playing backgammon. And there is a similar sculpture in Ellora. So clearly this game was very popular at one time, but it's just amazing how it went extinct from all parts of India. Like for example, Vinita was talking about how Dadi does not seem to have been popular in Tamil Nadu, or the fact that it has gone locally extinct. But here's a game that has gone extinct nationally. I'm quite puzzled by this. Next one. Then our man Sochwal Sali and his Hall of Games at the Three Rashmi Caves, Nashik. The Nakshatra Vilayatu or the Star game. There are two games that can be played in the same board. In Central India, for example, they play a game called Kaua, which is a tiger and goat class game. And in the south, it's a solitaire game called Nakshatra Vilayatu. This is another backgammon with some interesting markings, which are probably now dead to us, because so this is what we call a fossilized board game. In the sense that it is there on stone, but now because we've lost the rules, we will never be able to play it. We can play it with modern backgammon rules, but that's not the same game. Then there is now Kankani Pachisi, and another game again fossilized because probably it looks like the Tamil Kattam Vilayatu, but by 4 and 3 squares we can't again say what they were doing. Or was it just a break for whatever reason? Another surprise is if the Mankala or Kalamuri that we found at Aishwareshwar Singer and now at a few other places. This is not a very popular game in Maharashtra. There are a few people who play, but in all our wanderings and all our excursions, we have not found it to be a game well known to Maharashtrian men or women. So again, this is a case of local extinction, but we are beginning to find that there is a lot, this is quite spread out. This is there in Nashik district. Our friend Mr. Bhosle has found it in one of the forts. So here is the Mandapeshwar Backgammon and the Alka. Now these two games at Mandapeshwar also talk to you about the role of the cave over time. So the fact that we know that backgammon kind of extinct around the 7th century AD suggests that at that point of time the cave had a certain utility and a certain cultural nuance. There, not far from it, about 6 or 7 feet away from it, is an alcove, a partially unfinished alcove, which is very interestingly etched in relief. So the lines stick out and the background has been scratched away. Unlike this, which has been etched into the thing. Which now etching in relief is a very I also do epigraphy, and etching in relief is a very Islamic thing. There is Islamic inscriptions are always etched in relief. So they have done that here, and they have not finished it. But this suggests that this cave again came into use during the Indo-Arab trade period, and that some people of Islamic origin or some people influenced by the Arab, because Alcove is an Arab game.
That is a one it is played in Nepal.
The board is used for both games. Alcove is 12 men versus 12 men with the center empty. That's Alcove. Bagh Bakri uses the same board, the Nepali Bagchar, with 4 tigers at the corners and the rest goes. So that's another thing we Indians are good at. We can take the same thing and use it for multiple things. Okay? Like anyone who's cleaned their ear with a matchstick can tell you. Then of course, as people have spread as our tentacles have spread widely into India, everybody who goes on holiday now, they don't look at the ceiling, they don't look at the walls, they look down. So they, yes, I know. So now we will start looking at the ceiling to look for games now. So this is from Hampi has now ended up with multiple surveys. People go on their honeymoon to Hampi and then they're looking at games. Solo trips to Hampi and they look at games. So this is discovered by Aparna Joshi. Next. This is by Shashank Sawant, who went on his honeymoon to Hampi. Next. This is by Riddhi Joshi, also from Hampi. Okay. So after Vasanta Rangachar, we have again resurveyed Hampi. So I think it would be a serious idea to look at what Vasanta Rangachar saw and how many of that now remain. So that itself would be an interesting study. And this is Riddhi's hall at Badami. Next. This is very interesting. I've credited Yogini Atrayam, she's angrily nodding her head. Okay, so by another student Nidhi. This is a Kokari. This is an ancient game, but not an ancient game board. The game board was etched in 2018. So there is renovation work going on at the Kokari tombs, and they went there to the tombs to look at, because we were looking at Siddhi history. And one of them spots this, and then I think they made a huge hue and cry, and all of them 16, 17 girls suddenly congregating on one game. And then we sort of interrogated the people. So there are workers from Andhra Pradesh who are working there right now. And they have etched it on one of the concrete slabs that they are going to lay at the rooms. So the same process that we sort of hypothesized would have happened in the past, where workers who took a rest and etched the game board, we have had the luck to see it live. Okay. This is the one that started it all. This is the 9-man's Morris that we found on the wall of a temple in Siddheshwar in Latur district. Okay. So we first thought it was something sort of sacred symbol, this, that, and then finally found out through the 9-man's Morris. And now this has gone international. So we presented some of our findings at a conference in Calcutta. And there were these two people from Sri Lanka who had come to present at the same conference. And on their way back, this couple was going to have a short holiday at Mahabalipuram. So Mahabalipuram, fabulous cultures, but this is what they were looking for. So this beautiful, some sort of version of Panchkelia, okay, that they found here. So this is what we say is the disease of Kelia. Once you catch it, you sort of start looking for board games everywhere. And now, this was among our latest finds. Okay, so this is at the Bamuni temple in Tezpur. Now, this is these are bits from Ashtapada or Chaturanga type board and another board. And this board has already caused a lot of heat among us. We trace the diagram and we try to find out, is it part of another game? Is it an incomplete part of the game? Is it a complete game by itself? So every time these photos come into our central database, there is a lot of debate that goes on. Kya hai? What could it be? Is it a game? Can we play the game? Other ways to play? Is something missing? So yeah, this is our appeal now. See, individual efforts are heavy, they take a lot of dedication, and we must salute the dedication. So what the Ramsons team has done, I think deserves a loud applause. What Dr. Reddy and his granddaughter have done for Andhra and Telangana deserves another loud applause. What Vijita and Dr. Palambal have been doing, surveying games in Tamil Nadu, another loud applause. But we have to do it on an all-India scale. We cannot have passionate people doing it one by one, because the rate at which these are being destroyed is sadly a very high rate. People pull down their temples too. So it's not just the games, remember, the ancient sculptures go away, the context of the temple goes away, and many of them are horribly modern RCC structures, which you know that in the next 60 years will have to be pulled down to redone again. So while this is happening, the rate at which it is going extinct, I think we need a lot more people to participate in this, a lot more people to catch this infection, and to make Kelia the success it will be, only if all of us join into this. So this is an appeal, wherever you see board games or drawings that look like board games to you, or even if it's not a board game but you think it's a board game, okay, please mail us at akyama@gmail.com and we will take note. We will be setting up a centralized database on our website so that you can see what has been sent in. Okay, we are not minding duplication, because if she saw one at Hampi, he saw one at Hampi, it's okay if you saw it again at Hampi, because it tells us that that thing is still there. So the dates also tell us how long it has survived. And then we can then create this mindset in our country that this is a part of our heritage that needs to be kept. You can keep your bathroom tidy. Thank you so much.